Hi there, this is Scott Nicholson, and welcome to Board Games with Scott. Now, I've got a word of advice for those of you out there who are aspiring game designers. If you want to publish your own game, whatever you do, don't use too much hyperbole on the box. Now, what's hyperbole? Well, you know, something like saying, best game ever, or it's awesome, or something sort of a nonsense phrase when you read it. You don't really learn anything. It's supposed to get you excited. Instead, use some words or phrases that are more about the actual game you're talking about. This week's game, Saikoro, did that kind of thing, and I wanted to point to it. It says, this is the complexity of chess, the speed of drafts, and the elegance of Go. Now, drafts, this is a British game, and so that's checkers in the UK. So they're saying it's complex as chess, it's as fast as checkers, and it's as elegant as Go. All right, now, those don't all work together. So, you know, just take this stuff off. Just tell us what the game is about. I know, I'll do that with Board Games with Scott. It's the wackiness of Scrubs and the intelligence of Good Eats and the ego of the Colbert Report, all rolled into one furry fellow here on Board Games with Scott. Hi there! Welcome to Board Games with Scott. This is a regular video series where I take a game and explain it and review it to help you decide if it's a game you might want to purchase. Now, sometimes I get sent games by small publishers to take a look at, and sometimes they're not so good, and every once in a while there's something that's pretty interesting. This week is one of those times. I'm going to be talking about a game you've probably never heard of called Saikoro, which apparently means dice in Japanese. This is a two-player abstract strategy game. It's a very light game. It's a very clever game. It's designed by Paul Edels. It says that it's for ages 10 and up, and I would say you could even go younger than that as long as you know someone that likes to eat dice, which, you know, some of us still like to eat dice. But this game really caught my attention. It's a really neat little game. It takes about 10 minutes to play. It's attractive, it's interesting, it's fast moving. They've done a very good job with this little game. And so, without further ado, let's see what's inside. So inside this box, you get this box. And there's a reason why that you have a second box inside, and it's because you need a lid on the top, because there's all sorts of dice in there. You also get a rule book, a fairly short rule book, because there's not a lot of rules to here, but it's well written. It gets you playing very quickly. And that's about it. Now, what's inside this little box? Well, let's open it up and see what's inside. So what's inside the Saikoro box? Let's find out. It is dice. That's right, you've got this cool grid, and inside this 8x8 grid are 62 dice and 2 playing pieces. And so the playing pieces are for the player playing black and white. But of course, they had to do something silly in this game. They used the Japanese words for black and white. So it's kuro and shiro. I'm just going to use black and white throughout the rest of this review. So anyway, what you got is this paper board, and so this is like hard paper. It's like a thick cardstock that's been folded over to make all of these little containers, and inside each one of them is just a regular 6-sided die that will come out, go back in, whoop, into the wrong spot. And what you're going to do when you play the game is to start it, in order to randomize the board, you put the lid on it and you shake it up, and you open it up and you're ready to play. I think that's really cool. That's a neat way of generating a different board each time you play, and it's kind of noisy and fun and all that stuff. But how does it play? Well, let's get right into gameplay. So this is the board, and as you can see, there's one die in each of the segments, and then there's the white stone and the black stone. And the goal of the game is to trap your opponent so that they have no moves remaining. Now, the way that you move in the game is you're going to take your stone and you're going to move to another square. And the square you move to will have a number. And the idea is that you have to take the number of steps to get to that square. So for example, this has the number 1 in it, so I could take 1 step to move to that square. This one has the number 2 in it, so I could take 2 steps, 1, 2, to move to that square. Let's see, this one has a 5. I could go 1, 2, 3, 4. Whoop, I can't get there that way. So I'm not going to be able to go to that square. So let's try this one with a 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I could move there with 6. The rules are that you cannot cross back over your own path. You cannot cross over your opponent's stone. And there's one additional rule. After I make my move, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I take out that die. I move my piece into that space. Now this is an empty hole. You can no longer move across this hole. So as the game goes on, this guy might move 2, 1, 2, for example, we'll go here. You're going to make pits, and you'll get more and more pits as the board falls apart. Now, there's one other rule that keeps the game interesting. Every time you move, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you always have to end up within 6 spaces of your opponent. So black could not go moving over to this part of the board. You have to end up within 6 spaces of your opponent. So it keeps you very close with your opponent, going back and forth, kind of like a wrestling match. So let's say I want to go 1, 2, 3, 4. I could do that. Move to here. So what's going to happen as the game goes on, more and more the board is going to disappear. And so you want to cut your opponent off without getting cut off yourself. So I'm going to go ahead and play a little bit. I'll speed it up so you can just watch how the game falls apart. So I'll show you what's happened here. At this point, white is cut off. They have to go out this way. Black is going to go around here, but white has to end up within 6 spaces of black. So it's going to have to come this way. So maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is legal play. As you'll notice, 1, 2, 3, 4, he's still 6 spaces from black, so it's okay. And that forces black to come up to where he is. So now black's going to try and make an escape out while he can. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now white's getting in trouble because he can't really get anywhere. So he's going to have to go, he'll just go 1 to here. And black can strike, trying to cut white off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is about black's only move is to here. 1. Now black can make a great move here. And now notice white can't get past this area because black's got him trapped. So white's going to have to, white's really been cut off at this point, as you can see. And so that's the way the game's going to end, because white can't get to any of these dice, he can't go beyond it, so white loses this game. And that's the way it goes. As you play, the board's going to fall apart. So you get close, you try and cut someone off, but you don't want to get cut off yourself. I did notice that you do a lot of counting as you're learning the game, but then you quickly learn, that you can get to certain spaces by 1s, by 3s, by 5s. You kind of get a feel of where you can get to by moving around in circles. So that's the way the game goes. You just go back and forth until someone gets cut off. When you're ready to play again, you just drop in all your dice, and you put a whole bunch of them in the same section like that, because that's going to make it really easy to play. You put your white and your black together. You put these back in here. You say, hey, I'm missing one. Whoops. Get out of there. Put the lid on. Shake it up. And you're ready to play a whole new game. And that's all there is to Saikoro. Cool, huh? So what do I think of Saikoro? This is one of the neatest little two-player games I've seen in some time. It's pretty to look at, it's easy to explain, it's fast to play, and it's clever. The way that the board kind of falls apart as the game goes on. At the beginning, you're just moving around, and then you begin to get more and more panicked as things start to tumble away. I'd compare it to Hey, That's My Fish. If you've seen that game, that's a game out by Mayfair. I think it's more dynamic than Hey, That's My Fish. It is for 2 players, although you certainly could just take out 2 more of the pieces and add 2 other colored pieces to play it with 4 players. I'm sure that would work out. So it's got a different feel because you only have 1 piece to worry about, but both games are similar in that you've got this board that's falling apart. This one, the rule that keeps you next to your opponent, makes it really feel like a wrestling match because you can't move too far away from your opponent. You're always right on top of them. So you're trying to get close and cut them off, but not get cut off yourself. And it made for a really delightful balance in the game. So I like Saikoro. They did a good job with this game, and I look forward to more publications from this small press company. It is a company from the UK, so if you're bringing the game to the States, it's going to be a little more expensive. But it's a nice, elegant, pretty game. It's one you could have setting out, and people would notice it. You could explain it very quickly and get right into it and enjoy it. There's also 2 other rule sets in the game for different ways to play the game. I think the base game is actually just fine. It gives you that nice feeling of a crumbling island as you're panicking, running around, having a great time. And don't forget, it's the complexity of chess. Oh, it's not. It's the speed of checkers. It's actually faster than checkers. And it's the elegance of Go. No, it's nice, but it's certainly not as elegant as Go is. So anyway, I give this a high recommendation. I do enjoy the game. I'll invite you to check out other episodes of Board Games with Scott over at boardgameswithscott.com. And if you're looking to learn more about this whole board game hobby, head over to boardgamegeek.com. It's a great resource for board games of all types. Thanks a lot, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye. Now why do this? Come on, this is a good game, and you put this on the top, and I say, oh, this can't be such a good game because they've had to put this nonsense on the top. So anyway, maybe I'll do that for Board Games with Scott. Here we go. It's the fantastico of the... Come and see, it's the comedy of the Daily Show, with the sarcasm of the Colbert Report, with the trees of the joy of painting. It's the wackiness of Scrubs, and the intelligence of Good Eats, and It's the wackiness of Scrubs and the intelligence of Good Eats and the ego of the Colbert Report, all rolled into one furry fellow here on Board Games with Scott.